I am so excited, Drew, that you are with us. Drew is a founder of Blue Compass, which is one of the Midwest's largest digital marketing company, and also the author of Retain. Today, I'm excited to have you on. Thank you so much for joining, just talking about your leadership journey, as well as the importance of culture and how that's played a big role in your professional journey. Welcome. Would you mind just telling us a little bit about how you got to be here?
Sure. Well, Hosanna, thank you for having me, first of all. And yeah, I mean, I think I kind of got on this journey because I got a job. It was an internship when I was 19 at this company, and it was a kind of an agency setting. And it was a really great experience. I started there. They had a wonderful culture. Really enjoyed the people I worked with. There's so many personalities in the office, so much fun. And, I worked there through college. I got hired, continued to work there. And it was a great experience. I learned a lot. But over the years, I suddenly started to see the culture change. And it went from a great culture to a toxic one because of a number of changes that happened. And, towards the later days I was there, it started to be just so taxing. When I was driving home at night, I just felt negative. It was difficult. Mondays were bad, Fridays were good. It was that sort of thing. And in 2007, I had the idea to leave and basically start a digital marketing agency, which was Blue Compass. And so I did that. I had a co-founder named Carrie, who was an incredible guy, and we did it together. And when we started, it was always our goal to give good organizations a clear direction for their online presence, to
Right.
be the best at building websites, digital marketing, SEO, and things like that. But our secondary goal was always to have an incredible company culture that no one wants to leave. We wanted to have a place where we had fun all the time, where everyone enjoyed it, where there was joy in the office. And so we started in 2007, and we had that for years. Slowly over the years, we started to hire people, serving clients. We were super, super young, learning a lot over the years, but we always had a great culture, and there were so many laughs in the office, and people were supporting one another, and it was just a joy to be in the office. And then in 2012, what I think is the best thing and the worst thing that ever happened to us occurred, which is we got an absolutely massive client, the biggest one we had ever had, especially for us back then.
Right.
And that was good because it helped us grow and it gave us more opportunity, experience, and things like that. But it was bad because it was such a huge client. We had to hire a bunch of people really quick. And so we went from 8 people to 16 people overnight. And Hosanna, that was the first time I ever saw any sort of drama or gossip creep into our organization. And I felt absolutely shocked because this wasn't supposed to be what we're all about. I mean, we said we would never have this. Why is this creeping into our organization? And it was really troubling and it was really difficult. So that caused me to take a step back and self-assess. I just always thought the power of my personality was enough to fuel an incredible company culture. And it turns out it's not. It's definitely not, whether I want it to be or not. So I realized that you have to be really purposeful about having a great workplace. It takes a strategy. It takes work. It doesn't just happen. Unfortunately, because of the human condition, culture trends towards negative unless you're purposeful about it, unless you have good leaders and you employ the right tactics. And so I realized that, and that's when we instilled our values here at Blue Compass. We have 5 values. They're value statements. We are positive. We give clients our best. We support one another. We grow our expertise. And 5, we reject drama and gossip. And so we instilled those values back then. And I realized, Hosanna, that as the CEO, my number one purpose is to make our values known to our team, to live them out myself, and to help them do the same. And if I can do that, we will have a wonderful company culture. The workplace will be great. People won't be looking over their shoulders because someone's trying to take their credit. People will freely give credit. There'll be laughter in the office place. There'll be joy, and we'll all be able to do our very best, do some really creative work. So that was a huge turning point for me back in 2012. And over the years, I just got more and more interested in it, and just the whole leadership aspect and the crafting of company culture. So that's basically how we got to where we are today.
I love that. Now, I know that there was a period of time just within our own business culture where culture became kind of, and I still think it is becoming more and more, we're more and more conscious and aware of it. I think it's just kind of changing. But were those buzzwords around when you were starting to build Blue Compass, or was it just from your own experiences that you were like, okay, this is really what I want to instill in Blue Compass versus where I was
Yeah.
at?
Yeah. Well, when Blue Compass started, again, this was 2007. I didn't even know what the company culture was. I'd never thought about any of that stuff. I just thought it would happen. And so I was super new to it. I knew so very little when we started the company. And I know a
Right.
little bit more now, thankfully, but there's just so many, blood, sweat, and tears, made mistakes, struggling, figure things out over the years. And I think, as I got into the business and started doing this sort of thing in leadership, everyone talks about company culture. You go to anyone's
Yeah.
website, you go to a corporate website, and they always talk about what a great culture they have. They have pictures of ping pong tables, they have photos of their team doing, service days. They talk about how they have, beer on Fridays. But company culture isn't a ping pong table. It's not an event, it's not an occurrence. Company culture is the sum of the leadership and the values and the interactions in the workplace every day. It's how you feel when you go home in the evening or when you log off. And I really learned that over the years. It's not just a bunch of buzzwords, it's not tactics. It's something that permeates every moment of every day. And it's almost like you can feel it. And when we have people come to Blue Compass, it's often that they will tell us, wow, it feels so good here. It's like there's an energy here. People can tell that there's something positive in the air. Not to say that we're perfect, we're not. I don't think any workplace is perfect, but
Right.
it's it's something you experience every day. It's how people treat people. And I'm a big believer that the best way to get a behavior is to model it yourself. And so it's so important for us as a leadership team or for any leader not to, just talk about being positive, but to be positive themselves, not to just emphasize that people need to work better and harder, but
Right.
to be a hard worker themselves. And I think that's kind of a cornerstone of it.
Yes. Oh, I think that is so good. What I loved out of your five, I noticed one of them was a behavior you don't tolerate. And I
Yeah.
was with an organization, we were going through this exact practice of what should be our values and that we want to instill within our organization. But I think I love that you have it's so well, it's so important for us to always think about what do we not want as well as
Yeah.
what we want. Like both sides of the coin are super important.
It is. And, for us, that was so critical because, again, gossip and drama are poisons in the workplace. And I think every workplace probably has them to some degree. It's very difficult to stamp out. And we're not perfect at Blue Compass. I think it creeps in every now and again, but for the most part, we don't have it. And
Right.
one of the things I think is really important, if you're a leader, if you have a workplace where there's drama or where there's gossip, you can't just say no gossip, no drama. As leaders, you have to not do those behaviors yourself. But I think it also really helps to define it. And I was recently talking with an organization and encouraging their leadership team define what gossip is to you and then don't tolerate it. And so for us, gossip is complaining about any internal problem to someone who can't do anything about it. Complaining about any internal problem to someone who can't do anything about it. So if someone is sitting there and maybe their computer is really slow and they complain to the person sitting next to them, I don't know why they make me work on this computer. It's so slow. I can't get anything done.
Right.
That's gossip because you're complaining to someone who can't do anything about it. Instead, take that to your manager and say, hey, like, is there anything you can do? This computer's so slow. I can't get work done. That's a much more positive way to handle that sort of thing.
Right. Absolutely. Oh, that's so good. Yeah. And I think that that is so important to define because so many people you can have a principle or you can have a core value, but the interpretation of it, if not
Hmm.
defined, can be two totally different things. And that could also create a culture where people are on two totally different pages where they think they're doing the same thing, but they're totally off. So that's a really good point. What's the
Yeah,
definition?
absolutely.
Now, a lot of those people that might be connected to me on LinkedIn might be newer leaders, or maybe a newer, owner or of a company or a business. Just from those beginning stages of someone, maybe they don't have a large team, maybe they just have a small team, maybe they don't have the power, or maybe they're just beginning. What would be just some basic, hey, if I went back to Drew, to the very beginning, this would be just some practical advice that I would give myself, or that you would give to them?
Define your values, be very clear about them, choose values that make sense for your organization, that you're good at, but also that are a bit aspirational, and then hire based on those values. One of the greatest things you can do to impact your company culture is to bring someone new in on your team. And so I think it's really important when you hire someone to ensure they will fit your values and they will fit your culture. I think Blue Compass has an incredible culture. I think it's a wonderful place to work, but it's not right for everyone.
Right.
We're very social. We're often very jubilant and joyful, and we do pranks, and sometimes people jump out and scare people here. I think that's fantastic. It creates laughter in the office, and we really enjoy that sort of thing. But
Right.
not everyone wants that, and that's just fine. So
Absolutely.
it's all about. I think Hosanna, the interview process is so important, and both
Mm,
parties should be interviewing each other and being super super honest about it. You got to set expectations, and you can teach skills, but you can't teach personality.
yeah.
Someone's personality is not going to change, and their skills are very important, but I will take the personality over skills every day, or the soft skills, sometimes people call it.
Right.
I
Yeah.
think it's so important. We ask questions about, our values. How well are they going to fit into it? That sort of thing. It's so critically important. So, know your values, know your mission, and then add people who fit into that. Even if they don't perfectly fit the skill set, you can teach those.
Right.
But you got to hire people you like and who are going to be positive and add to your culture.
That is so true. Now, can we talk about the other side? And let's say you hired someone. What does it look like when you bring someone on that you might think initially everything, all the boxes checked, but then
Yeah,
after a little while you realize, I don't know if this is the best fit, or some things changed?
sure.
What does that look like, and how should people handle that as well?
Yeah. Well, that does happen, Hosanna, unfortunately, and it can even happen to us. I don't think anyone's perfect at interviewing. You never, it's impossible to sit across from someone for an hour or 3 hours or whatever it is and totally understand who they are and what they're going to do and who they're going to be. So I think, it's it's really important for your organization to train, spend a lot of time and effort training that person at the beginning, giving them the tools to succeed.
Mhm.
But then if things start to maybe go off the rails a little bit, it can never be something where you talk about it behind closed doors and worry about it. The conversation has to occur with that person as well. You have
Yeah.
to be really clear about it, have conversations, and then send emails afterwards to let that person know in writing. And, probably 3, 4 years ago, we had someone who just wasn't quite the right fit. We got into that situation,
Right.
and we had meetings with this person every 2 days, I think it was, just to talk about how things are going and expectations. And I think eventually, if that person isn't the right fit, they'll leave, or you encourage them to leave, or you release them to other opportunities. And that
Right.
shouldn't be a surprise to either party. It should be, a mutual decision. And if you do it well and with character and everything, I think that's really, what can happen. It can improve life for both parties.
Absolutely. I love talking about this side as well. I think culture, we often think of the positive, which is really important.
Hmm.
But I know when I worked at an organization as well, sometimes having the hard conversations was just as important, to have the tools of how to have those hard conversations, as well as the rah, rah, rah. We want to be positive and fun. And at least from some of my experience, is a lot of perhaps the toxicity that I might have experienced was because leaders weren't willing to have some hard conversations, kind of like what you were talking about, of,
Yeah.
like, hey, let's look at this. Is this really the best fit? And let's not drag it out, but let's have those hard conversations, because the best thing for that person as well, if it isn't a good fit, is to let them go so they can find something better.
hmm Yeah. A mentor of mine says dysfunction dwells in the conversations that are not had. And
Yeah.
as leaders, it's often our job to get to the right conversations. It's uncomfortable. Maybe we don't like doing it. I don't like having tough conversations, but not doing so leads to a lot bigger problems than the uncomfortability you'll feel during the conversation.
Right. Right. I think there's a book, is it like 2 Minute Manager? And that was something that really helped me as a manager, where it just talked about, don't draw out those hard conversations, but deal with them right away. Because the longer you sit
hmm
on them, it becomes a bigger deal. But if you can just quickly bring someone in and be like, hey, FYI,
Yeah.
don't use that. Maybe let's watch your tone next time, or in this particular audience, not that big a deal, but very short and sweet, and then continue
Yeah.
on. But I remember reading that going, "Oh, this is so good," because otherwise I would have mulled over it, and made it kind of a bigger deal in my mind
Yeah.
than it needed to
Yeah.
be, you know?
hmm Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, with your book, Retain, and I love this, How to Create an Incredible Culture That No One Wants to Leave. I often use that exact same line of, like, how do we create places where people are lined up? Or how can you create a team that people are vying to be on? And so through your experience, how did you get to the place where you're like, you know what? I think I want to write a book.
Over the years, as I got more interested in, leadership and creating a positive workplace and having fun in the office, I don't know. I think I just got asked by more and more people about it, and I started speaking at, more organizations. People would ask me to come speak. I would speak at a luncheon, and slowly that grew into a little more of a speaking career than I ever planned on, I guess. And so now I'll do keynotes about this sort of thing, which is great. But I just spoke about it enough. It became a passion of mine that I really loved, that I was like, oh, maybe I should just write some of it down. So it was fairly easy to write just because I had spoken about this sort of thing so often. And I determined what I thought were kind of 5 keys that every organization needs to have if they want a fantastic workplace. And
Right.
so I just simply wrote about those. And it was, it took a lot of work, but it was fun to write about too, because I just was able to tell a lot of stories of things that we did here and share my experiences in creating a great culture. And yeah, that's how it came about.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Okay. Well, can you give our listeners a sneak peek of what those 5 points are for a great culture?
Y- Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so the first one I've already talked about, but it's visible values. You have to have clear company values. And so many companies have them, but they're not visible. They don't enforce them, they don't act them out, they're not visible. So here we have them on the wall, we have them on our intranet, we have
Mm,
them on our proposals, we have them in our presentations to clients. Even though seems like more of an internal thing, we
right.
lead with them externally. And then, of course, our leaders try to act them out, but also in our team meetings, I will always go through them. And then we ask for a person on our team to give someone else a shout out and tell a little story as to why they just, they were positive that month. So I
Right.
think that's telling stories is really powerful, and that's a really good way to do it. That's been good for us. The second one is appreciative acknowledgement, and it's
Mm,
basically, we all want to matter. We all want to know what we're doing matters. And in a
absolutely.
recent survey, I saw that 79% of people who just left their jobs in the United States did so because of lack of appreciation. No one ever left a job because they were too appreciated. So
Right.
having that spirit of acknowledgement is just really, really important. The third one is jubilant joy, just having fun in the office, being able to laugh and express yourself. And if it fits the spirit of your office, doing pranks and things like that.
But
But there's a lot of examples I give of how you can actually have fun in the office. I don't know where we got the idea that work is dull and work is boring, but it's really important. I saw a quote, I think it was by Dale Carnegie, and he basically said, like, people rarely succeed unless they're having fun in what they do. And we really believe that here. I think that's absolutely true. The fourth one is constant connections. And basically, the idea here is you have to have relationships in the office. You have to have
Mhm.
really good relationships. And one of the most important ones is the relationship between the manager and the person that reports to that manager. And
Yeah,
so I talk a lot about the power of one on ones, how to do them, how to have really great connections and conversations,
I love it.
how to listen. You know, the
Mhm.
biggest issue today, I think, in many workplaces is that people listen to reply, they don't listen to understand,
Yeah.
and leaders are often really guilty of that. So just how to listen to people. When we built out our office here at Blue Compass, we decided to not put any doors on our offices, and we did that because we want to have, you know, a no door policy, not just an open door policy. So maybe it seems a little silly, but just that visual, we want people to feel really comfortable coming in and expressing themselves. And then the fifth one is genuine growth. You can have all four of those, but if people don't feel like they have a place to grow, to develop personally, and of course financially too, it's not going to be a absolutely incredible culture. And so, just thinking about, you know, how can you craft a place where your team feels like they can grow, feels like they can get better and improve as a human being. So that's, in a nutshell, those are the five, and I use a lot of examples and action items of how you can do these in your own workplace, you know, whether you're the CEO or a VP or an intern.
Right. Absolutely. Oh, I love all those points. And we will be sure to
Thank
put
you.
in the comments how you can get Drew's book, Retain. I know that it's on Kindle and Amazon and
Yep.
also Audible. So, all of those ways. Drew, if people wanted to be able to connect with you more, learn more about Blue Compass, your organization, or just you as a speaker, author, how could they do that?
Sure. Blue Compass and myself, websites all over social media. But the website for Blue Compass is just simply bluecompass.com. And my website is simply drewharden.com. That's Harden. But yeah, information about booking me as a speaker, a lot of blog articles. I have a pretty active YouTube channel and things where I share insights like that. So Blue Compass and I are all over the place out there.
I love it. Well, Drew, thank you so much for taking time for doing this live. I personally have gleaned so much. I know I could probably take up most of your day, but I know you're a busy man. So we'll go ahead and wrap up today. But thank you so much. Appreciate it. I will, in the comments, put all of Drew's information. So anyone who might be wanting to connect, you'll have the ability to do that. And Drew, thanks again. I really appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for the opportunity, Hosanna. It's been great.